Hi Mum, you do everything for everyone else. Let me help you make your life easier. Quick, short information to make you empowered and remind you why you are so important. Because if you don't know what's on the menu, how can you choose what's right? Hi, I'm Alina, Director of my private practice supportive therapy. An everyday Aussie mum trying not to lose my biscuits and my kids. As a mental health professional, I'm here to share my secrets so no other mother feels alone or powerless. Knowledge is power, and I want you to be powerful. Think of it like I'm your mindset coach through all of this. Everything is backed by science and psychology. I believe in you, and I want you to be the best version of yourself. To be happy and feel in control, you need to be mentally strong. Hello everyone, welcome to this very special episode of Mentally Strong Mums and Relationships. Many of you know that I, as well as in my own private practice, I do individual counselling and therapy. I'm trauma informed, and I do modalities such as EMDR and internal family systems, which is parts work. All of this is understanding the nervous system as well as trauma, and then attachment theory to be able to have a secure, safe relationship. So in relationships, they will either be a secure relationship where you feel safe, it's your ride or die, you feel emotionally safe to say and be who you want to be. It's just peaceful and relaxed and predictable and consistent. That's essentially what secure attachment is. Anything other than that is insecure attachment, where it can be hot and cold, or it can feel like constant criticisms, or even on the scale of abuse, neglect, and all of that, right? So obviously with individuals and with couples that I work with, we do primarily focus on secure attachment, of being that secure attachment with each other, as well as understanding to be able to regulate and relax your nervous system. And sometimes when it looks like relationships, it's that saying of the opposites attract, where one person wants to come in and work on the relationship. They work hard on themselves, they work hard to be secure and regulated, but they're essentially in a relationship and they love someone who's insecure attachment and avoidant with a dysregulated nervous system. So sometimes my job is to be able to translate and explain the experience of another person. So when the secure partner starts losing themselves, one of the most painful positions in a relationship is being the partner who understands so much and who works on everything so much. And especially this is mentally strong mums. You've probably got kids. And sometimes even with a lot of my people, we stay together for the kids a lot of the time, right? And when you love somebody whose nervous system has learnt that closeness equals danger, you quickly realize that love alone does not always feel safe for them, okay? And you start to then see their patterns through a compassionate lens. So when they pull away, you remind yourself it's not rejection, it is protection. When they go quiet, you try to interpret their silence rather than understand their indifference, right? So with this, it's then about conditioning. And as the secure partner, you become patient, you become careful, you become understanding. It's like you're always putting their needs above your own. And yet, even with all of that awareness, your own nervous system still feels the impact of their dysregulation. So you still feel the sting when the connection disappears or when it's being pulled away. And for you, sometimes all you want is that connection and that closeness, but if the other person feels like it's a threat or if it's too much, it constantly feels like this rejection, right? You still feel the ache of waiting for someone who seems emotionally just out of reach. It's like if you sold me this narrative of wanting to be in a partnership and a relationship, but you're essentially alone in it a lot of the time. So then there's a quiet confusion that builds inside you. The experience of giving your best love and watching it land somewhere that never quite receives it. and then that making you feel like you're not good enough, right? So then over time, because of who you are, questions then begin to creep in. Am I asking for too much? Am I somehow not enough? Should I try harder? Should I give more space? Should I stop asking for what I need altogether? So these questions are generally the hidden struggles of the secure partner in the relationship. And when it comes to relationship dynamics, it can sometimes look like the pursuer-distancer cycle, where the pursuer will seek connection and emotional support, especially when feeling overwhelmed. They just want the love of their life there, and they want to kind of connect. So this is natural and understandable that we want your bestie, who's your partner, to be there for you, right? And then this desire for closeness is a way of coping with stress and seeking reassurance, because we're mammals and we have safety in numbers, and sometimes all I want is just my secure partner to be there for me the way that I'm always there for them, right? But if the other person's insecure attachment, they then have a withdrawal mode. Do you know what I mean? If you can understand what I'm saying. I always have trouble saying that for some reason, right? So then when emotions become too much or too intense, or the requests for support feel too overwhelming, or like too much pressure, anxiety, all of whatever it is, their instincts, instead of to come together to nurture that person or to connect with that person, will step back and completely avoid, because they don't want conflict, they don't want to do anything wrong, they don't want to let you down, for whatever reason that is. So some people will be a trauma response, some people will be underlying anxiety, some people it will be a fear. And so when I work with people, this is gender neutral. So even though I'm talking to primarily an audience of mums, sometimes females have the distancer reaction, and the masculine, the male, has the pursuer, and it's too much for the female, right? So it's gender neutral for both parties. So the withdrawal is a protective mechanism to reduce stress, but can unintentionally increase tension, because if this one's seeking something and that one's running away, and then this one then comes and seeks more, and then that one runs away, and then this one, where are we going? Do you know what I mean? So it can be really, really difficult and really, really painful for both sides, because the pursuer just wants love and acceptance and nurturing, but the distancer wants to be there, but for whatever reason, trauma or anxiety or avoiding conflict, they feel they're inadequate or not good enough, or they just mentally or emotionally can't do that. So then they withdraw, and then it's this cycle of both people feeling completely alone in a relationship, right? So when this happens, when you are emotionally attuned to someone, especially if you were that pursuer, right, or distancer, you can sense the other person's fear before they even acknowledge it themselves. You can feel their hesitation in the room before a word is even spoken. So sometimes that looks like your instincts. Your instincts are like, oh gosh, I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to go well. I don't know why, you know, where it's like the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and you're waiting for something to happen. Your empathy allows you to hold their pain with compassion. That empathy can quietly transform into the emotional labor, and the emotional labor in the relationship is always being there for them and trying to regulate them and making them feel better about everything and trying to minimize conflict and constantly keeping the peace, right? You begin carrying both your feelings as well as theirs. So you then start adjusting yourself to prevent their discomfort. You soften your words, you minimize your needs, you rationalize behaviors that slowly hurt you, which can sometimes present as self-betrayal, right? And this is where something subtle starts to begin, especially if you don't have a lot of self-worth and know who you are. You start to slowly disappear within the relationship. Because when it's always about the other person and you always constantly put their needs above yours, and you're always managing their emotions, and you're not allowed to ask for your needs, and it's not an equal, secure partnership, that's what can generally happen. You just lose yourself. And especially for mums and women have wombs, therefore we are nurturers. And if we're constantly nurturing other people who can't be there for us back, it's exhausting in a household, and it's very lonely in a relationship. So these might not look like huge dramatic events. Sometimes they can just be slowly over time in these small, quiet moments of self-abandonment. And every time you downplay your needs to accommodate their fear, you create less room for your own emotional experience. And the next time that you explain away their distance, your body learns that your longing must then take a back seat. And every time you reassure them that they are safe with you, you forget that you need to feel safe as well. And so then the relationship slowly shifts from that connection into endurance. Sometimes as well, what that looks like, especially if this is a long-term cycle, is that their emotional walls become something that you try to solve. Their silence becomes a puzzle that you feel responsible for unlocking. You begin to believe that if you love them consistently enough, if you show up gently, if you stay long enough, then eventually they will relax into the safety that you are offering, and then they will give it back to you if you can just prove yourself, or if you can just nurture them enough, or if you can just make them feel safe enough. But sometimes the reality is different, and the difficult truth sometimes looks like that safety cannot be learnt by someone who's still organised around protecting themselves from closeness. If they're still fearful of closeness, you can do whatever you want to try to heal them and make them feel better and get them to trust you, but their triggers are their responsibility, and their triggers aren't going to be resolved without some kind of healing or understanding that this cycle actually exists, right? But your patience is a beautiful quality, but when your patience becomes over-functioning, it creates this imbalance in the relationship. And then without realizing it, you become the emotional container for the entire relationship. And that's not sustainable, because then, especially if you've got a couple of kids, that's generally your job to be there for your kids anyway, to do that for them, because your job is to help regulate your children, to help manage their needs, to help understand why their walls are up, to be there emotionally for them. And then when you have to constantly do that to your partner as well, who's there for you? Do you know? It's not sustainable. Secure love does not mean tolerating endless emotional distance. It means maintaining kindness while also maintaining the truth. That's when we are in a secure attachment relationship. Think of your bestie. You're always there for them and they're always there for you. Sometimes they're surviving or drowning, and so you help them up. And then sometimes when you are drowning or barely surviving, they're there for you. But it's mutually beneficial, and we have our backs. And when we're both good, we're both good. But when one's not, we help each other, we validate, we have our backs as much as we can, right? So secure love does not mean tolerating endless emotional distance. It actually means maintaining kindness while also maintaining truth. It means being able to say, I understand that closeness is difficult for you. I care deeply about you, but I cannot continue sacrificing my own emotional needs to maintain this connection or the illusion of connection. All right? I even have a couple of clients, and they're male, and this is their female partner, and when they come in to see me, because they're essentially the nurturer and they're just begging for their female partner to be there and give them love. And even when I read this, a lot of women, if it resonates with you and you just think this is primarily a female dilemma, whether man is emotionally unavailable, it's not correct. It's gender neutral what we're talking about, do you know? But when you are the secure partner, I'm here to validate you about how painful and exhausting it is, how you constantly have hope about how things will change, and especially when you've got kids, just trying to keep the peace within the household, right? What's difficult now is understanding that in a really great secure relationship, true security includes boundaries. It allows love to remain open while refusing to abandon the self, right? Can be very difficult in this kind of dynamic when someone's constantly overwhelmed and triggered and they genuinely believe in their subconscious that closeness is dangerous, right? Even though logically they want to be in this relationship with you, but either somatically or subconsciously, they will self-sabotage and push people away, either because they're insecure, they don't believe they deserve it, or closeness is actually really, really dangerous, okay? The growth of the secure partner is learning that compassion does not require self-erasure. It is learning that intimacy is not built through endless accommodation, but it's actually built through mutual presence, emotionally, physically, psychologically, being present and showing up for each other. It's remembering that your aliveness and your needs and your voice and your longing is not an inconvenience. They're essential parts of a healthy relationship, that both parts are equal and we both have a say and both of our needs are valid and we both want love. Even if we want love and connection in two completely opposite ways, they're both still wanting a healthy relationship and they're both valid. Because when empathy turns into caretaking, the relationship moves away from intimacy. And there's always that saying that if I feel like I'm your mother, not your lover, then I don't want to do anything in the bedroom with you because I feel like I'm your mother. I feel like I'm your caretaker, right? And caretaking is not the same as love. I want to be a partner and I want to be essentially in that honeymoon phase, the girlfriend where we can both be there and you care about me and we listen to each other, we support each other, it's fun and spontaneous, it's easy, it's light, do you know? And with all of this, there is an interesting paradox. When the secure partner begins to honour their own needs again, so just say they've been coming to therapy, build themselves up, they understand that this cycle exists, something important happens. Sometimes the avoidant partner is then suddenly faced with a relationship dynamic they may have never experienced before. Someone who cares deeply but does not abandon themselves to maintain connection. So for some people, this becomes the moment where real healing can happen, where they encounter a relationship where love and self-respect exist side by side, okay? And so for others, the same moment will activate their defenses. They might experience your boundaries as pressure, and they think that your boundaries are vindictive when they're not. They may think that your boundaries are a challenge or a sign of disrespect, right? They then, if you're brave enough to then starting to ask for your needs and there's a shift, they may then label your needs as demanding or intense or unreasonable, okay? Either way, something important has happened because you've stopped trying to become their healer. You've tried to stop figuring out their walls and being there for them, and you have stopped being their caretaker, because in a healthy, mutually beneficial relationship, it needs to be beneficial for both people, not just for one, right? And if you have started returning home to yourself and being authentic to who you are and you remembering who you are, because love that requires you to shrink is not love. Love that asks you to silence your voice is not love. Love that confuses empathy with self-sacrifice, it's not love. Healthy love grows when both the nervous systems matter, both people matter, both needs matter. When two separate people can remain themselves while staying connected. This is where real safety lies, okay? And I just want to, before we go, I'm just going to share this here with you, which is very important. I gave it to someone the other day, actually. And this is sometimes what it looks like with the, let me just, here we go. So sometimes what the patterns look like is that when they're angry, you would de-escalate them. When they were anxious, you would constantly reassure them. When they were defensive, you would keep explaining yourself. When they would withdraw, you would constantly try to meet their needs and repair the connection, right? But when we go into healing, when they're angry, for you, when you're regulated, instead of being there to de-escalate them, you stay calm, you step back, and then you focus on your own boundaries. When they're anxious, you can acknowledge, but you don't absorb the responsibility. When they're defensive, instead of over-explaining yourself and trying to prove your worth or your value, keep your reassurances short. You don't need to over-justify everything. And if they then withdraw, instead of you feeling like you panic and you want to repair the connection, just allow the space. You don't have to chase the resolution immediately, okay? So these are little things to help understand and give you permission to help, if you're the secure partner, to help understand and redefine your relationship, okay? This isn't about ultimatums or making the other person feel bad or blaming them or blaming you. Everything that we've been spoken to today, I've actually been seeing this as a recurring thing for the past 2 weeks with clients, individuals and couples. And this is essentially for them, so that sometimes when I have a session with them, it's all too much and too overwhelming. So at least if I can do a podcast summary of these relationship dynamics, they can listen to it so it can sink in. But most importantly, look at everything with curiosity. So instead of looking with judgment, be curious about patterns. Understand why you're the secure one and why you do this. Is it a learned behavior? Is it something to do with your self-worth? If you have kids, is it to try to always keep the peace in front of the children? Is it, right? So look at everything with curiosity before making any decisions into problem solving, okay? Validate yourself and acknowledge what's happening. If it's beneficial to you, obviously seek counselling. You can even journal, because there's a profound thing through your mind going down your arm when you write. If it's too painful though, stop, don't do it anymore. But I'm just trying to validate, normalize when a person whose secure attachment is in a relationship with someone who's avoidant. It's exhausting and very painful. So this one was a bit heavy today, so look after yourselves, especially if you've got triggers. Your triggers are your responsibility. So do things to be able to regulate your nervous system, come back again into your own body, do some breath work, journaling, listen to some music, talk to a friend, whatever that looks like, okay? Any questions, please let me know, and I would love to hear from you. Have a lovely day. Bye.